Good evening, UC Santa Barbara. My name is Gianni Barajas, and alongside my colleague, Josie Penix, we are proud to welcome you to the very first Coastal Conversations event. Coastal Conversations was founded under a single guiding principle, that us, the UCSB students in this very room, will lead this world, our world, into a better, brighter future. It cannot be said well enough that our generation, Gen Z, is an intelligent, passionate, bright group of individuals, thinkers, and leaders that will usher in an age of prosperity. Within our lifetimes, we will cure life-ending diseases, solve our world's growing energy challenges, and even walk on other planets. In fact, NASA projects that the first astronauts to walk on Mars will be one of us, a member of Gen Z. That being said, as we all know well, but certainly not well enough, with great power comes great responsibility. We see today, for better or for worse, the ways our leaders have a meaningful impact on our everyday lives. For how uncertain our future may be, what is certain is that we will have much to learn from our present and our past. Josie and I believe the best way to do this is to directly connect, to directly engage in conversation with our nation's leaders. Today we bring one of America's leaders, Andrew Yang. Yang was a former presidential candidate in the 2020 election, co-founder of America's most well-funded third party, the Forward Power Party, CEO of Noble Mobile, and frequent host of No Phone Parties across the country. In 2020, he won Iowa's Youth Straw Poll, Who Would You Want to Get a Beer With, and Who Cares About People Like Me? He ran on a campaign warning about the effects of artificial intelligence and implementing universal basic income, otherwise known as UBI. For reference, ChatGPT was only released about 3.5 years ago in November of 2022. Yang was warning about the effects of AI 2 years before ChatGPT came out in 2020. Last month, Yang released a book, Hey Yang, Where's My $1,000? Reflecting on his journey and aftermath of the presidential campaign. Today, we'll be discussing largely 4 topics, including the role of AI in the future, social media, is college still worth it, and the future of leadership in America. We also recognize that students often feel unheard. This is why during registration and as you were walking in, you were invited to submit questions. Josie and I reviewed every submission, and your voices are directly reflected in tonight's discussion. We respectfully ask for you to maintain a constructive environment. This conversation will be recorded and shared publicly, representing not just Josie and myself, but the UCSB student community as a whole. Lastly, I would like to thank you for attending this event. Your engagement shows that Gen Z is active and excited to engage with ideas at the national level. This truly is our opportunity to be heard across the nation. The days of us sitting on the sidelines are done. We are now active participants in history. Please welcome Andrew Yang and Josie Penix.
Hello, UCSB.
All right. Well, I want to start by, again, thanking you so much for being here. This is a really exciting chance for us to get to talk to someone so cool. Thank you for giving our audience a chance to be your audience.
I like it, Josie. Way to butter me up.
So about exactly a month ago, almost, you put out this book, Hey Yang, Where's My $1,000? And I feel like it really kind of brings together everything that you campaigned on, everything that your platform as a politician really stands for. And I want to give you a chance to tell us a little bit more about the details in there. I think after reading this book, something that really stood out to me was the way that you talked about thinking about the political landscape in our country as not necessarily an issue with electing the wrong people, but the behavior that the system is promoting being incorrect. Can you speak a little bit more on how you think the issues in our country right now, especially polarization, can be thought of as a structural incentive problem?
Well, sure. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. And Josie did something highly unusual in preparation for this interview, which is she actually read my book, which is incredibly effective. And I joke that if you want to find someone at their most vulnerable, approach them when they have a book coming out. Because it's very hard to be like, oh, I wrote this book, but I don't really care, it's no big deal. Because, books require work, and so the fact that someone actually took the time to read it, is asking intelligent questions about it, is awesome. I've been on both sides of that. The alternate title was, Hey, Am I Racist, or Are You Andrew Yang? Which I've also gotten. And the book is meant to be an insider account as to the presidential campaign and various experiences I had, trying to humanize certainly my own ups and downs over this last number of years, but also I think give an inside look to what political actors experience. And to Eddie's intro about Gen Z, your potential, your idealism, I love it. I love speaking to young people, but I have to say, we have fucked you all. You know what I mean? And when I was running in Iowa, I'd said, it's like, if you're young, you should be either angry or depressed or both, because our generation has left you a total shit show. It's like a real catastrophe. And one reason why I ran for president back in 2019, 2020 was I thought that AI was going to come and wipe out a whole generation's worth of opportunities. And I dare say that has aged all too well. If you're in school, you probably don't, God willing you don't. You don't keep up with stock market headlines or CNBC ups and downs. I certainly did not. I certainly did not when I was your age. But various Fortune 500 companies are axing workers right and left and saying it's because of AI. And it is going to pick up steam over these coming days, because the company that most prominently did this, which is Block, also known as Square, Jack Dorsey's company, they said we're going to cut 40% of our employees because of AI, and then their stock went up 24% the next day. So now that's the playbook. All these major companies are going to be axing workers and seeing their valuation go up as a result. And you know who's going to be on the outside looking in? The people that would have been hired by these companies a number of years ago. Sorry, I don't come bearing better news, but this is what ginned me up to the point where I was like, screw it, I'm going to go to Iowa and New Hampshire and tell the truckers that AI is coming. And that's why I'm president today, and things are going so well. But I undertook this mission partially because I knew that we were setting your generation up for a future that was not as bright as you deserve.
I think it's really cool to hear someone talk about politics and ethics and AI and economics from this standpoint of it's about the systemic incentives promoting the wrong behavior, as opposed to the way that the people are really interacting with the system. Like, nobody can hack a poisonous system, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and there's a guy, by the way, I have beef with him. I mean, I'm friendly with him. I actually really like him. This guy named Ezra Klein. Do you guys know Ezra? So Ezra wrote a book called Abundance, which I love. And I knew he was going to get attacked for it. But I was like, and him and Derek both. I'm friends with them both. But I was like, you guys are about to, bring all of this hostility on yourselves without realizing it. But then before that, he wrote a book called Why We're Polarized. And that's what you just said is pretty much a quote from him. You probably know that, Josie?
I may have read that book.
Yeah, you might have read that book, right? What his quote was, toxic systems corrupt good individuals with ease. And I've seen it over and over again. Like the overly simplistic view is that politicians are bums and corrupt and crooks, and that's why you can't trust any of them, blah, blah, blah. But the more nuanced truth is that some of them got into it for the right reason and then just got stuck, like a fly in amber, where you have to keep the machine moving and you can't touch like the most important issues, or else your job security drops very, very quickly. And so I went to Ezra after he wrote this book. I was like, dude, you know that your book is calling for a third party, because the primary system ends up distorting our politics in various ways. It's going to get worse, not better. Like the media and the social media landscape just, puts it all on overdrive. And so I said to Ezra, I was like, dude, your book inspired me for like what I'm doing right now. So it's like, how can you have written that book and then conclude that the two-party system is going to work? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. So I give him a hard time about that, but you know, he's now trying to reform the Democratic Party via the abundance movement from the inside. I'm trying this other path, and I hope one of them works because, you know, it's like we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting when you know, talk about incentives. I think it's something that hit pretty close to home in California recently with the passage of Prop 50, right? We saw this thing we were saying, fighting fire with fire against the Texas redistricting.
Totally.
And what I found interesting about that, about all of this redistricting, is that it told me it's more important where our national party lines lie than representing our core constituents.
Yep.
Right. You know, it said, hey, it doesn't matter, you know, what are the needs and interests of your people here. I'm either a D or an R, and that's how I'm going to represent you nationally. I guess, what are you doing today in these movements to help amend that issue?
Yeah, it was a power move by Gavin, and it worked. And it worked in large part because he is positioning himself as the leader of the Democratic Party in 2028. How many of you all are California voters, residents? I think like vast majority of you, which you know, doesn't surprise me at all. So Gavin's the front runner for the 28 Democratic nomination, and he is a very, very savvy political operator. So he said, you know what? I'm going to push through this redistricting in California as a tit for tat with Texas. And the fact that he made it happen makes him seem superpowered. By the way, another friend of mine named Wes Moore, who's governor of Maryland, hasn't been able to do the same thing there. And everyone's like, oh, if you can't even cram this stuff through your own state, how are you going to lead the party? And Wes is almost certainly, I hope I'm not outing this Wes on YouTube or whatever, but like Wes, I'm sure is going to run for president. So there's like this, so Gavin has excellent political instincts. You know, some people don't think so, but like he sees what the Democratic primary electorate wants, and he's going towards it. And to me, you know, it's like I was ambivalent about the Prop 50 redistricting. It's like I got it on the national level, but anything that effectively disenfranchises voters and makes them less represented, I think is a loss. So the numbers I want to throw out, this is fun for me. What is the approval rating of Congress as we're here together this fine Friday evening? What's that? 20 is a fine guess. It's a little lower, it's around 15%. What is the re-election rate for incumbent members of Congress? I'm anchoring you high, it's higher still, it's 94%. So what I joke about is, imagine if there was a restaurant where 85% of people didn't enjoy the food, and they just said, we're not changing anything, like the menu's the menu. That's the way most Americans interact with our politics now, and that's what this redistricting reform enables. It enables 90% of districts that you already know which party's going to win before you even like show up to the ballot box, because both parties detest competition. Really is the heart of it. By the way, I want to give a shout out to my favorite candidate for governor, since so many of you are California voters. His name is Matt Mahan. He's the mayor of San Jose. Please do check him out. But I think he'd make a phenomenal governor, in part because he's all about making government work at the ground level for people, for citizens. He's all about it. If you look at his background, it's really impressive. And that's the kind of thing I think would change things in California. What's happened with Gavin and redistricting is it's very clear that Gavin's been governor for almost 2 terms now, and he's like, okay, next is president of the United States. And that guy's been running for president for probably 20 years, like being realistic. You know, I met Gavin maybe 10 years ago, and he was definitely running even then. You know who wasn't running at the time? This guy. I can even prove it in various ways, but whatever. I mean, it's one reason why Gavin, you know, Gavin's the front runner for the Democratic nomination, and I'm here with you all.
So how does...
Ouch.
No. I mean, it's all love. It was a self-deprecating joke. You guys got it. I mean,
We could
you're
get Gavin if
you're
we
clearly
wanted to.
awesome.
We wanted you.
You know what I mean? That's true. You could have got Gavin. That's true. I mean, he's still the governor last I checked. Is he? No, I'm just kidding. Well, because the joke is, like, I have friends in South Carolina who saw Gavin just a number of weeks ago. I have a feeling they're going to be seeing more of him than you all will. Like, the next, you know, because the dude's running for president. Again, I mean, I get it. I ran for president. I was in Iowa 25 times, New Hampshire 25 times. I used to joke that they were like my children, where if you visited one, you had to visit the other. Again, that's why we're doing this from the White House today.
Of course.
So I guess in the structural political reform route, how exactly does, what I found really interesting is I was actually a big hater of ranked choice voting for most of my life until, you know, we wanted to bring you and I was listening. And what I found really interesting is you were coupling it with open primaries.
Yes, that's the secret.
And I think that's the key.
That's the key. Yeah, that's right.
So I think this is an excellent opportunity to convince more than just me now, but, you know.
Oh, thank you, Eddie. This brings me joy.
Thank you.
And happiness, because this is what I'm all about. Okay. Right now, 90% of these districts are drawn so that you know it's going to be blue or red. So the antidote is to make it so that you eliminate the party primaries, you have an all-candidate primary, and then you decide the final via ranked choice voting or instant runoff, which means that the winner has to have majority appeal, because right now the way it works is if I can get the extreme 11% to like me, then the general doesn't matter because I'm in a blue zone or a red zone. But if you had everyone can vote in an all-party primary and ranked choice voting, then the winner has to appeal to 51% of us. And so you wind up with more reasonable, solutions-oriented, non-crazy types, honestly. And this process has been proven to be good for women candidates because it turns out that women tend to be a little bit more consensus-driven and reasonable and solutions-oriented. You know, go figure. So one state made this change in 2020, and that state was Alaska. And Lisa Murkowski voted to impeach Trump as a Republican senator and managed to win re-election, one of the only people to do so because they got rid of the primary and replaced it with an anyone can vote. And so if she'd had a Republican primary, she's done. Like, Donald Trump actually showed up. He actually flew his ass to Alaska with his hand-picked Looney Tunes candidate named Kelly Shabaka, who, like, spoke in tongues. But I mean, you can look it up. I'm not even making any of this up. This is all 100% true. And said, let's get Lisa Murkowski out. She's a rhino, Republican in name only. And that is a death knell for the vast majority of Republican office holders, unless you've changed the primary system where anyone can vote, and it's not just the Republican base. You see how that worked? So it made Lisa Murkowski able to win re-election, even though she defied Trump. And so she's essentially an independent senator. And my mission in life is to try and get her 2 or 3 buddies in the Senate so that if, let's say, hypothetically, the president nominates like a Secretary of War douchebag like Pete Hegseth or whatever, then some of them would just raise their hands and be like, no, I'm not feeling it. You know? By the way, this happened, and then the person who wasn't feeling it just got bombarded by pressure and said, like, we're gonna end your career, we're gonna primary you unless you get on board with, like, this douchebag pick. And so that happened multiple times. If you had 3 or 4 US senators that didn't have primaries, they'd be like, nominate someone else. Like, so that has been my mission over this last number of years. And if you want to dig into this primary reform effort that I'm describing, I gave a TED Talk in 2024. It was the number 7 TED Talk of the year. It fixed everything. But it's called How to Make U.S. Politics Better in like 11 minutes. So please do check it out. I was proud of it at the time.
So you've talked
pretty funny.
You've talked a bit about how ranked choice voting and open primaries can really expand the audience that a candidate has, or
Yes.
like help them build these broader coalitions.
Yes,
But I
yeah,
also
you get
think
it.
that it's worth considering that things like media ecosystems and partisan identity and national politics, as opposed to just election mechanics, are really influencing voter turnout and the way that these things go. What makes you confident that ranked choice voting and open primaries is really going to meaningfully shift the incentives that you're looking to change in this larger environment?
Part of it is that it's the one thing you can point to. It's like, did we make a change in a state? Yes. Did it improve things? Yes. And you can point to the Alaska example. And there's some other examples too. Now, is the media ecosystem totally screwed up and part of it? Yeah. And I've written about the death of local journalism as being a major polarizing influence because local papers tended to be kind of up the middle and reasonable. You guys remember they covered high school sports and you were pumped to be in the paper? They're not very ideological for the most part. It's like, hey, the bridges, the bridges need repair or something. You can't really get too red or blue about that. But then you get rid of that newspaper and then it becomes your social media feed and cable news. And that ends up driving you toward one extreme or the other. So I'm with you, Josie. I mean, they're all intertwined. But the voting system is a huge part of it because, by the way, I mean, I wrote about it in this book, so now you know, but when I left the Democratic Party, I had a TV contract rescinded because they were like, oh, we liked you when you were just, we thought kind of blue. But now that you're trying to fix the voting system, we don't know what to make of you, so let's not have you on TV anymore. Which I was like, oh, shit, that's kind of hurtful. But being stubborn, I was like, oh, it must mean I'm on the right track. But there's a point that you're making is that right now our media has kind of separated us into teams. And that's true even for the people they have on.
Yeah, I think
I'm on Team America myself. You know what I mean?
Well, I think a fun question that we may have, kind of being ushered into this new world of voting, and I voted my most.
I want to compound this for just a second. Check it out.
Good,
check
please.
it out. I was a Democrat for decades, and I'm like liberal in just about any way that you can sort of imagine this. But I want to say California is essentially a one-party state, and people are leaving California in droves because they can't afford to live here. It's not. What the problem is when any ruling class or group becomes insular and has no real competition. That's the case I would make. The Democrats here don't have any pressure. They're like, what are you going to do, vote for the Republicans? And I will say, by the way, the California Republican Party, I think it's not cool, honestly, But there are all sorts of Californians that are looking up saying, why is everything so expensive? Why are there so many homeless people out and about? Why does it seem like the government isn't able to address some of these basic quality of life concerns? And you know what you're told? It's too bad, really, because there's no competition here in California. It's true. I mean, this country's gotten segmented again into blue zones and red zones, and the lack of competition is bad for everyone. It's one reason why, again, I like my guy, Matt Mahan, who's a Democrat, but he's like, hey, what's with this non-delivery of services? Like that. And one of the things he said to me when I interviewed him, this week, was he said that government spending in California has gone up 60% in the last 5 years, and no one thinks that your quality of life has gotten 60% better, you know what I mean? You haven't seen that or felt that. And so the folks who are upset that there is this kind of out-of-touch bureaucracy, that transcends party lines. And so I just want to say, too, it's like, there's this, again, I'm on Team America. I just want things to work better for people, for you all, for, the young people of this country, for your families. And anyone who stands in the way of that, then I start to give a hard time.
Yeah, we actually, here in UCSB, we largely live in a little place called Isla Vista, and we know firsthand what it's like to not feel your voices represented. We have some pretty crazy things happening there, from very high rents to noise ordinances. I think that kind of begs the question of...
People should be allowed to party to all hours. So, just a quick aside, I didn't know that was an applause line, but I was a party promoter in my mid-late 20s, and It's like some of the best memories I have, you know? And I mean, I still throw parties to this day. It's sort of ridiculous. But I do. I'm a party promoter in more ways than one. See what I did there?
Yang is pro-Deltopia, remember that. And I guess this kind of ties into a question that was submitted by Nicholas Kemsley. Can the U.S. still be considered a democracy? You know, if we see this massive polarization, we see a massive power of wealth consistently affecting politics, which we haven't even touched on.
Yeah, totally.
Are we still a democracy, or are we just, you know, what are we?
What are we?
What are we doing?
We're a failing democracy. We're a faux democracy, F-A-U-X, you know what I mean? There's a lot of manipulation, a lot of the fix is in, and certainly I've had some firsthand experience with that sort of thing. I still hold out hope. I mean, the hope is with you all. The hope is with the tens of thousands of Americans I've met over the last number of years who are generally good, reasonable, well-intended, non-hateful. I mean, most of the hate is coming from what my friend Hassan Minhaj calls our rectangles of sadness. You know what I mean? Like, you look at this and you think that we're very, very angry and hostile toward each other, but then you actually show up in someone's neighborhood and, like, everyone's chill, everyone's cool. You know, so speaketh the magical Asian man from the future who wants to give everyone money. And then there's like, hey, you know, and then they size me up and be like, hey, are you crazy or are you here to help? And as soon as they rule out crazy, then they're like, oh, okay, it's fine. and then we break bread and have a good time. So if the systems of this country matched up with the goodness of the people, we'd be all right. If there's a single step that would make that happen, it would be to get money out of politics. But at this point, both parties are like just like neck deep in the money. You know, it's like everything about them. I have a friend, one of my campaign volunteers, who decided to run for Congress in Tennessee's 1st district. It was a rural red district. And so she became the Democratic Party nominee for that congressional seat. Eddie's going to run for Congress at some point, so I'm going to experience this. Get behind Eddie Barajas now, everyone. All right. So follow him on Instagram. It's Eddie_Gianni, then the other underscore, I believe. All right. So she becomes the Democratic Party's nominee in this congressional race, and she calls the Democratic Party and is like, hey, I'm your nominee. Do I get any money? And then the Democratic Party was like, no, you got to send us money. And she's like, what? I don't have any money. And that was a conversation. The Democratic Party has no interest in investing in a rural district in Tennessee because it's like, we're not going to win, so like we don't care. And if you become the nominee there, like, you know, you should pay us dues in order to promote the state party. Like, by the way, right now, the Democratic Party just canceled its midterm convention because they don't have the money. It has become a financial operation in the guise of a party. And I'm not saying the Republicans are any better. By the way, the Democrats right now have a 29% approval rating nationwide. Republicans like 32%. So neither party is exactly covering itself in glory right now. But that's this. So when you ask, like, is America still a democracy? Our will is getting refracted through these two parties that care less about us and our futures and more about their own bottom lines. Again, not to be the bearer of bad news, but most of you probably figured most of that out, right? Yeah, who kind of knew that?
Well, on the subject of bearing bad news, you started us off talking a little bit about AI, and I want to kind of bring us back to that and give you a chance to tell us a little bit more what you think of it. You've publicly spoken a lot about how you think that AI is going to lead to a lot of white-collar job displacement, especially like over the next year or 2 years.
Yep.
If you think that the statistics and the math say that these jobs are going away, why does it seem like the political response to it is so slow?
It's the same reason in 2020 that I was jumping up and down talking about this and no one else really cared or wanted to talk about it, is because there's no political interest group involved. You know, it's like displaced white-collar workers, like, you know, who are they going to vote for or not vote for? I don't have a solution. And so, by the way, the solution's universal basic income. And if I were to run for president again, that's what it would be again. Just got to start distributing the money to everyone quickly and broadly. But no mainstream, yeah, you like that, right? I mean, it's common sense, only thing that makes sense. You're talking about trillion-dollar enterprises, hoovering up the jobs, and then, what, you know, like, what's the next move? By the way, one of their CEOs, Dario Amodei, said you should tax us. I mean, like, when does that happen? And then our legislators, of course, aren't willing to touch it because they're all scared of the AI guys. And the AI guys also control the social media platforms. So, you know, like, and the political figures need the social media platforms to get their energy and small dollar donors. So, now some politicians are actually starting to talk about this because it's becoming too glaring to ignore. And 80% of Americans are for higher regulation on AI companies and models. So there's this disconnect between our political representatives and what most people want on AI. And there's going to be a backlash, and as the backlash builds, more political figures are going to come out and try and ride that wave. But there's one guy who actually passed an AI safety bill named Alex Boris, who's running for Congress in New York, and the AI companies are just sledging him with misinformation. And like, my wife got text being like, Alex Boris is evil, and she's like, what the fuck is this? And I was like, oh God, it's the AI companies trying to. Alex Boris is the opposite of evil. He's actually a great guy. You can look him up, Alex, B-O-R-E-S. But the AI companies are like, oh my gosh, if we have an intelligent critic who makes it to Congress, then they might feel emboldened enough to defy us. So let's make an example of this guy and make sure they all stay cowards.
Well, what should government's
Oh my
role-
God, I'm sorry. Like, I consider myself like a fairly uplifting human, and yet, I would urge you all to socialize as much as you can during these years, party more, make memories, because that actually is helpful in this day and age, like building real human connection.
Andrew Yang is pro-Deltopia. Deltopia is a party we throw at campus.
I'm very pro that then, yeah.
They're
No,
trying
come
to
back
take
for
it away from
Yeah,
us.
What?
They instituted a 72-hour noise ordinance.
What?
Yeah.
This is some footloose bullshit. Where are the administrators? What is going on here at UCSB? Look, if you can't give these kids a party and some good memories, like, what are you doing?
What are we doing? I don't know. I guess kind of in this, I'm on Instagram, right? And I remember seeing the other day, probably today or yesterday, you know, waking up, first thing I do is check Instagram. And the CEO of Anthropic said that they didn't know whether or not Claude was sentient or not. They got a little scared. They're like, yeah, it might be alive, might not be alive. And then where I was confused is that you would think that the government would want to regulate AI more than the AI companies. But then Trump is saying, hey, Anthropic, can we use your stuff to spy? Can we just, like, no regulations, like, we want to use you for
Totally.
Iran or any, you know, future invasion of a country. I guess I was kind of dumbfounded in that. You know, you would think the government would regulate it, and I'm kind of lost in what the government's role is to regulate AI. You've mentioned about taxing the AI companies.
All right, so the Trump administration has just been the AI industry's biggest cheerleaders the whole time. They're like, go, 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 whatever you need, we're gonna stay out of your way. And then they decided, hey, Anthropic, we might need your technology to surveil the population and some of our military adventures. And the CEO of Anthropic, Dario Amodei, was like, no, like, don't want our stuff to be used for that. And then the Trump administration, in its infinite wisdom, declared them an enemy of the state and foreign like supplier and all this total nonsense bullshit. And then like Anthropic now is trying to fight it in court. Then OpenAI simultaneously said, we are happy to do whatever you want, Department of War. And then 1.5 million people then abandoned ChatGPT for Claude because they said, you know what, I'd rather not be supporting the government surveillance crew. Anthropic strikes me as one of the most conscientious actors in this space thus far because the CEO has come clean about automation, said tax us, because they said, look, we don't want to be used for mass surveillance. But the Trump administration plays dirty when someone gets crosswise with them. And so this is going to be a real heavyweight fight. But it seems like Anthropic is genuinely principled and is going to be tough to bully because Anthropic is already doing billions and billions of revenue, and their AI suite is the best for several tasks, and people are not going to give that up. So, you know, I'm obviously on Anthropic's side on this one. Just about any sane person is.
And then kind of the other thing with AI is, and this kind of ties into the whole college student audience and the job stuff. You know, I'm in engineering, and to be frank, it can do all of my homework faster, better, cleaner, and let's just say people use a lot of AI when they do their homework assignments. And we see today that the unemployment rate among college graduates is the same that of non-college graduates. It's like you would think of all the people that should stay in college, it would be someone in engineering, but should I go on my phone and just drop out right now, or is there still intrinsic value behind my degree?
I certainly think that finishing school is a good idea in most cases, because people would, expect you to have a degree. If you're going to drop out, it should be because there's something very, very real and immediate and concrete that you're doing. Then, all bets are off, and sure, like if one of you's like, look, I'm gonna start this company, run for office, like do something really pressing that can't wait, then that's always a legitimate reason. But for most people, they're gonna finish school. The rubber hits the road then when you do try and get an opportunity. And the major shift for your generation is that the well-trodden pathways may not work as well. And so you're going to have to get scrappy and personal and old school. You're like literally, this is what I'm going to have my kids do. It's like because I'm a parent. It would literally be calling your parents and saying, hey, who do you know that runs a business that might be able to use someone like me? Like go deep into your own networks, like no stone left unturned, that kind of thing. If you're just another disembodied LinkedIn person, then it'll probably just go into some AI bucket, never to be heard from again. And by the way, even for me, like I run a company right now, Noble Mobile, and when someone I know says, hey, I've got a young person I want you to meet with, I say yes, because, like we all have friends, we all make the world go round. So that's the way you guys are gonna get that initial coffee and interview. And then even if it's not officially a job interview, it's a job interview, and I know that too. It's like if I have coffee with a young person, like I could just offer them a job, and if they're smart, they know that. So it's that kind of thing. You're gonna have to like get really, really direct and personal. If you do slump into I'm gonna like lob, 80 AI fueled like LinkedIn requests, like resumes, you're gonna get back very little.
I learned about Noble Mobile at the end of your book this weekend. Can you tell everyone else about Noble Mobile?
Well, sure. It actually even plays into the partying, believe it or not. I'm trying to make Americans happier and less broke. That's my mission in life. I tried to become president, then give you all money. I still may try and do that again. But in the interim, I thought, how else can I get people money? And I'm friends with a guy named Mark Cuban who started Cost Plus Drugs. Do you guys know about this company? Cost Plus Drugs is dope. Just buying generic drugs in bulk and then selling them to the American people at a 15% markup. It's a fine business, but he's doing it out of the goodness of his heart primarily, and he's saving lives. So I called Mark and was like, oh my God, Mark, like this is the greatest thing ever. Like I want to do something like this. So I said, what else can I cost plus in American life that we all spend money on? And so the average American's cost structure goes, this is adulthood, by the way, housing, healthcare, education, food, fuel, transportation, media, and then number 8 is wireless. The average American is spending $83 a month on their wireless. You guys don't know that because you're all on family plans. Raise your hand if you're on a family plan. It's like everybody, right? It's fine. The average American spending $83 a month on their wireless. The average European spending $35 a month. That $48 difference times 12 is around $600 a year. Times the 50 years, you're going to have a wireless subscriptions, 30,000 with an interest rate that compounds. It's more like 50 or 60,000. So that extra spend is around 100 billion a year. And so I thought, can I get Americans their wireless at like $40 a month, $42 a month? So I managed to hammer out a deal with T-Mobile, thank you T-Mobile, and make it available to Americans, unlimited data for around $40 a month. And here's the kicker, any data you don't use, we give you the money back at the end of the month. So you actually have an incentive to doom scroll less and look up more. What do you all think? Noble Mobile. So please do feel free to suggest it to your parents because they pay the bill, you don't. But if you say, hey, like heard this guy Yang speak, he has a wireless company that seems worth checking out, it'd probably save your family on average $100 to $200 a month. Pretty good, huh? This is like so hence, hey Yang, where's my $1,000? The answer is I'm fucking working on it.
Other than the money, which obviously is great, I also like the incentive not to be on your phone as much.
Yeah, it's
like
good, right?
Eddie's telling you that he woke up and was on Instagram first thing this morning.
I mean, he's not alone. He has to see if anyone DM'd him back after his late night DMs.
All right, well.
They all did, by the way.
Sitting in a room of college kids talking about social media and talking about politics, I'd love to hear what you think about civic participation online and that sort of like Instagram activism and whether or not that's a valuable thing or if it's crowding that space.
I think it's a valuable thing if it actually makes you happier, but it doesn't make most of us happier. Studies have shown that if you turn off social media for a week, you actually are mentally healthier and happier and have your mood improve. You know who did a study that showed that? Meta, which they then buried because it's bad for business. So they're like, oh shit, our stuff is crack. There's this emotional appeal to thinking you're doing something and you're attracting attention. And by the way, this is coming from a guy who has several million social media followers, and I'm on social media as part of my job every day. And to make myself feel better about it, I've taken to giving my X earnings back to my followers because I felt dirty, honestly. I was like on this app posting stuff, feeling terrible about myself in the world, and then Elon gave me, $1,000. I was like, oh, what the fuck am I gonna do with this $1,000? That's like, and then I was like, I'm just gonna give it away. So now I've given away 21,000 on my X account, which is more than I thought it was gonna be. So I regret the whole thing. No, I'm kidding. But that's been my adaptation to feel like I was doing something. I think you can go online and do stuff if it's genuinely augmenting your well-being, but if you're honest, it probably isn't. And if it isn't, you should feel zero obligation to do it, because what you're actually doing is just enriching Zuckerberg and the crew by like a tiny increment.
I think it's a little bit scary sometimes to think about how so much of social media today is designed around maximizing engagement and
all of it.
Not actually considering
That's why it's worth
the
like $1
well-being
billion,
of the people.
I mean, I'm friends with a guy named Jonathan Haidt who wrote The Anxious Generation. What a hero that guy is. It's like I said to John, I was like, you are my hero. You wrote a book that changed the laws in 45 states to get social media and smartphones out of junior highs. He said it helps to write a book that is the #1 issue for 50% of parents. But it took a social scientist to shame Zuckerberg and the gang. And they were, they were just profiting from making teenage girls anxious and depressed. Like it's the kind of thing that really infuriates me. It's like if we had a leadership class worth its salt, they would have regulated the shit out of that without needing a social scientist to write a book about it. You know what I mean? Like, I saw the data 10 years ago. And like, I was like, hey, guys, this is like really noxious and bad. Again, we owe you guys better.
I think that being said, social media is still such an important tool, especially for politics and like reaching these younger generations and getting these messages across. But that also worries me because it's then created this environment of like performative politics, and it's like making politics more about culture than it is about politics. Like, where's the balance there? Where do you draw the line between?
Well, Josie, I'm so glad you pointed this out because like I live it. You know, do I have a 20-something-year-old who tells me, like, dance like a monkey for TikTok? And I was like, yes, I do. And then do I do it? Yes, I do. Some of you might even follow my TikTok, which that's the way it works, is I have a 20-something-year-old telling me to do something and I do it. And I'm apparently above average for, like, a, public figure at, like, filming these videos. Apparently, like I'm a reasonably good fit for it. But I'm with you. What it's doing is it's screening for performers and like substituting that for policy substance. And if you're good at one, you might not be good at the other. But we don't reward the substance anymore.
I've heard a lot of people
Of course, in my case, I'm good at both, right? I am a performer and substance. I'm just playing. But.
I've heard a lot of people talk about how that's something that really excited them about Donald Trump, especially when he was running. He's very loud.
I mean, he is the number one example of this, to your point, yeah.
Do you think it's possible to lead quietly anymore?
Yeah, I do. I'm happy to say, Josie, I do. And this is as an introverted Asian guy, just a bookworm as a kid. And it's one of the things I tell people. It's like, look, you do not need to become extroverted or a social media sensation to lead. Like that, there are so many people just making stuff happen every day that aren't like, glued to a smartphone or a microphone. And we need more of that. So please do not think that you need to become that in order to make great things happen. I'm actually even going to throw out something. I think these two are looking for people to pick up the Coastal Conversations baton. Because Josie's going to be graduating, and Eddie, I'm not sure what he's doing. So, but that's a way to make something happen, very positive for hundreds of your classmates, and you get to do a little bit of both. You get to be front of house and back of house, maybe. So I do not think, it's like the last thing I would recommend to someone is like, hey, you need like a social media following to be a leader. I mean, that's garbage.
And I guess when it comes to leadership among us, college students, Gen Z, every president since 1993 has been a boomer. Joe Biden's technically a little older, but to the same point,
oh my
right?
God.
But pretty soon, we are going to be able to start running for office and holding these positions and leading this country forward. What do you think is the biggest value?
I hope so, man.
I hope so. But I guess my question is, like, what's the value that Gen Z is going to uniquely bring to the table?
Will you hype us up for a second?
Oh, I'd love to hype you up. I mean, I would happily put you guys in charge right now, relative to what we currently have, for sure. I mean, that would be like a slam dunk. You'd just be like, hey, common sense, what should we do? And I wish we can speed that, I hope we can speed that process up. I do. Like, I think that you all would improve things dramatically in a way that like current generation hasn't been able to. When I ran for president last cycle, I was a Gen Xer. It was me, Cory Booker, and Beto, who are Gen Xers, so we'd like hang out together a little bit. And there hasn't been a Gen X president. There barely been, Gen X senators, strangely. And I think the sooner we can phase in a different generational leadership, the better. My joke is that Washington, D.C. is on a multi-year tape delay, and it has gone from being inconvenient to disastrous as the rate of change has sped up. You know what I mean? Like when your parents were, your age, it's like, all right, I guess, like these guys are a little slow, it's fine. But now it's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, oh,
Was that okay hyping you guys up?
Yeah, I
I'll
thought
take
so.
it. I think this
Yeah,
is a
please,
good.
speed us up, please.
A
By
good-
the way, I highly recommend that someone here run for president. It's a good time. And I'm happy to say there are only 2 rules: natural-born U.S. citizen and 35 years or older, which means you might have to wait a little while, but you can like position yourself and then like get in there. You know who it seems like is going to run as soon as he's of age? Mr. Beast. I mean, didn't he say that on a podcast somewhere?
What is he going to say? I'm giving away $1,000 to every U.S. citizen?
Dude, it's gonna work. I mean, shit. I might beat him to that shit.
All right, I think this is a good chance to throw in another audience question. Luke Green wants to know, if you were a college student again today, knowing what you know about technology and economics and politics and AI, what skills or fields would you focus on?
Yes. If there's one skill I think is gonna work across time, it's sales. And sales has a dirty connotation when you're in college because it seems unintellectual, it seems crass, it seems like you're imposing on someone. But I've been the CEO of multiple organizations, and as a CEO, you have to sell. You have to sell not just investors or customers. You have to sell every hire. You have to sell vendors. You have to sell your landlord that you're a good bet to rent the office to. And this sales skill translates across every industry. Some of you, for example, I'm going to try this. How many of you have a nonprofit that you like and support? So that was a test. That was like, are you a good person? And you could just lie and pretend. Sure. So I was a very uncomfortable salesperson for years and years. But what got me better was when I was selling for someone or something else. So let's say that there's a nonprofit or a candidate. Let's say you decide that Matt Mahan is like your guy. You couldn't run around selling people on him. And then it's not that you're selling them on yourself, which might be uncomfortable for you. You're standing up for a candidate or a cause. You know what I mean? Like then it gets easier because it's selfless. You feel like, oh, I don't want to impose on you with, like my own stuff. But then if you find the cause important enough, then you can do it and feel good about it. That's what helped me a lot. Like I'd started embracing causes. And even when I ran for president, I don't know if it's in this book, but I was deeply uncomfortable calling the campaign Yang 2020. I called it UBI 2020 for Universal Basic Income. And then my team was like, that sounds like a urinary tract infection. You gotta put a face to it. So I get the discomfort, but your ability to make a case for something that is important to you goes so far and will get you in the door with all sorts of businesses. Even when you end up meeting with your parents' friends and they run some business, if you're the sort of person who can go out there and make a case for that organization to others, even in an era of technology, that stuff still travels. I mean, you could be using tools to do it. You can do it in person, but that's what I would impart. And by the way, this is coming from a guy who was a terrible salesperson around your age. I was just a studious Asian dude who played video games and lifted weights and was angry in the gym. Are there any angry Asian guys here in the gym? Anyway, that was me. It gives you a sense.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't selling anything. It was like.
Well, you mentioned sales as a skill, but what trait do you think is currently undervalued in American leadership?
In American leadership, there's a Simpsons episode where McBain is presented scenario. He's the president. He's like an Arnold Schwarzenegger type figure. And then he says, I was hired to lead, not to read. I want someone in American leadership who cares deeply about an issue and is into it and has a vision that's independent of what the chirping says. For me, it was look, AI is going to wipe out many, many, many opportunities. and we should alleviate poverty on the back of AI because it's going to generate a lot of value, and we actually now have the ability to alleviate poverty in the United States. I'm going to throw some numbers at you. It's like right now GDP is $84,000 a head. GDP, terrible measurement, but if you use it $84,000 per person, it's going to go up to 90 to 100,000 because of AI. Poverty level might be something like 8,000 a head, something like that. At a certain point, you can start making moves, and like that's my mission in life still. Like I want political leaders who have that kind of core, that you know that that's what they're about. And a lot of them, even the ones I like and think well of, don't have it. Where like you look at them and be like, hey, what is like the thing that if you leave public life without accomplishing, you're going to feel like you didn't do it? And if they can't answer that, then it's really tough. But like even the majority of the well-meaning candidates I know like actually don't have that.
Do you think there's a trait that's overvalued right now?
I mean, right now it's this performance aspect you speaketh of, Josie. It's like the Democrats spent 6 figures on consultants to teach them how to speak to men, as an example. And so then it's like, oh, like we need someone who can like actually speak to men intelligence. Like you're gonna have consultants teach you that. It's what you need is someone with a core that translates. It's one reason why Tallarico did well is that he actually does have a core. You can tell he has beliefs. It's good. So with some of them, you can't tell as much. But that's the stuff that right now folks, the Democratic Party right now is such like a vacuum. And so people are casting about for different versions of an answer.
Well, I think we're wrapping up on our time, unfortunately. I think it's been difficult in general to take all of your experiences and shove it down into this 1 hour thing. I've certainly been looking up to you since 2019,
Aw,
2020.
thanks, Eddie.
So I was, there's a reason why this is our first event, and I wanted to start it with you.
Oh, wow, it means
we've
a
been
lot.
looking forward to this for a long time. But I guess with that, if you could take everything that you've learned in your lifetime and render it down to just 60 seconds, and then let's say you disappear right after. No more Andrew Yang.
Oh my God.
No more.
It's terrible.
Right,
It's like poof.
No, yeah, we
Bert
can.
Wonderstone.
Well, you go poof, or your means of disappearing. But let's say it even happens to, all other Gen X, all other millennials, all other boomers, everyone older than us, and it's just us. Like only these college students here to carry us.
Yeah, no,
forward.
of course. No,
What would
I think
you-
that the big themes, really, what I want to impart unto you all is that, look, like I'm public spirited, many of you are too. Like the most important things are to build yourself up, build up your own capacities, relationship, confidence, skills, network, and then be able to move your corner of the world in a good direction. Like you do not need to solve like every like big problem up here, but if you start working on your own career, friends, family, community, sometimes that can grow to a point where it does touch like the national scene or even like the world scene. So that's really what I'd suggest for you all is like, just get a little better every day, like, be a good friend, be a good colleague or son or daughter, and make your corner of the world better, because that can actually move mountains over time. If you do want to get into the public sphere, a very, very good shortcut is to get involved with a campaign, because the campaigns need talented, energetic folks. And as someone who's been a candidate, we notice very quickly if someone's good. If you're good on a campaign, you can wind up in a position of responsibility very, very quickly in a way that defies any kind of hierarchy. Like I had one kid on my campaign who was genuinely a kid. He was younger than you all. He was like 19. And we just gave him more and more responsibility because he's such a savant. And then now he's running a multi-million-dollar organization in DC at the ripe old age of like 23 or something ridiculous. I mean, I'll do some math, 19. He might be 25 now, I don't know. But he just came in, did the work. So politics can allow for that kind of rapid progression if that's appealing to you all. But the main thing really is just to, like, it's okay to take care of yourself. You don't need to feel like you have to be on social media to change the world any given moment. Feel free to unplug and just put yourself in position to, like, have a good run in this next immediate period, and then, like, to just keep on growing. I have a lot of confidence in your generation. I'm going to do my best to try and clean things up before you get there, but if you guys, by the time you guys run things, I'm sure things will work a lot better than they do now.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for this wonderful
Thank you.
coastal conversation.
Thank you, UCSB.
Andrew
Really
Yang.
appreciate it. Hey. Anyone who wants to get a picture, I'll be around for a little bit if you want to come say hello. I'm sorry I don't have more for you all, but.